Another Sedlak Offroad School dirt bike riding tip, and today we want to make sure that you don't whiskey throttle. One of the worst things that can happen to you on a dirt bike is grabbing a handful of throttle and not being able to let off, which is what we call a whiskey throttle. We've all seen the videos on Instagram, on YouTube, of just random people jumping on a bike, grabbing a handful, and they're off to the bushes, off into the rocks, and they're in big trouble. In today's video, we're going to give you 3 tips on how to avoid whiskey throttling, right? It's important to be safe. And then at the end of the video, we're going to give you a 4th pro tip that will really save your life. Tip number 1, and that is one of the most important tips always when it comes to riding dirt bike: make sure you sit in the front of the bike. So as you're getting ready, or when you're riding, when you're coming out of a turn, make sure you keep yourself forward so you're able to control the bike from here. If you sit all the way back here, your arms are already stretched out. Now you're grabbing a handful, the bike starts to take off, it pulls you even further back, and there's no way you can let off from here, and that's when you lose the bike and go down. We're always looking for new ideas for riding videos, so we appreciate you guys helping out. In this case, Dolly Ferrier, she left a comment a couple weeks ago asking for a video on how not to whiskey throttle. Here's your video, Dolly. Thank you very much for your comment. If you guys have any riding tips that you would like to see, just comment below. We'll look at all the comments and then happily make you a video. Tip number 2, and that is gripping the throttle. When you grip your throttle, you want to make sure you stay in a neutral position. A lot of times people think, well, I want to be wide open, so let me over grip all the way, so when I'm wide open, my elbow is neutral. The problem is, again, you move to the back of the bike and now you can't get back. So now you're stuck, right? Unless you open your hand, which is really difficult when you're holding on for dear life when the bike is taken off. So when you grip your throttle, make sure you're neutral here, and then you work in your wrist. You see from here I can go to wide open with my elbow being neutral and up, and I'm just working in my wrist. What you can do to kind of protect yourself is put your index finger on your front brake lever to protect yourself here. There's no way you can way over grip with your finger here. This will really put your elbow, forearm and wrist in line to have the perfect angle to go from neutral and being able to let off to full throttle without any problems. Tip number 3, and that will cover the part that gets a little bit more difficult. Once you're standing up, you have a lot more leverage on your bike and you're a lot higher. So it's easy for the bike to take off underneath you and you losing it and going right off the back. So you want to make sure that when you're standing up, you have a solid grip of your bike. We have a fundamentals video that I will link up here that will kind of explain all the fundamentals needed. So today we'll go over it a little bit quicker, but number 1, balls off your feet so you have that angle, and then hold on to the bike so all your grip is here and now your chest can come forward, right? When I'm on top of the handlebars, I'm able to use all my controls without problems. If I'm riding from back here, it's really hard for me to control everything without the bike just taking off. The front end gets really light, the bike starts to wheelie, and I have a really hard time controlling. So make sure you grip the bike nice and tight, your upper body stays forward, and then use the controls from here just like before. Index finger on the front brake so you're not over gripping, and then you run all the controls from up top. Tip number 4, and that is our pro tip. So that's the one you really need to remember because it is something that everybody uses. Even now where I'm not making as many mistakes on the throttle, sometimes, especially when you're riding tight tracks or tight trails, the bike gets away from you and it's important to be able to get control back. So pro tip number 4 is having your index finger on the left hand covering the clutch. So the second the bike takes off and you feel like you're losing control, you pull the clutch in, the bike stops accelerating. Now you can hit the brakes, get yourself back in position and gain back control of the bike. So just like your right index finger, your left index finger rests on the clutch. Again, it helps you keep your elbow, your wrist, your hand in a good spot. And then when you need it, when the bike's taken off, you're able to pull in the clutch and gain back control. This is it for another Sedlak Offroad School dirt bike riding tip. Thank you guys very much for watching. Let us know in the comments if you're struggling with Whiskey Throttle, if this video is helping you. We're always really happy to hear you. Every Wednesday we're going to drop a new riding tip, so make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next Wednesday.